Let's kick things off with the big picture. ias1 is all about how we present financial information. You might think, isn't the content more important than the layout? Well, imagine opening a set of financial statements and finding total revenue tucked away in the notes or the cash flow buried in an appendix. Without clear structure, even the most accurate numbers become useless. That's why ias1 plays such a critical role. It brings order, clarity, and comparability to financial reporting. This chapter gives us a first taste of what it's all about and why it's the foundation for everything else that follows in IFRS. In this chapter, we'll zoom in on 4 main goals. First, we'll explore why presentation matters. Not just in theory, but for actual users of financial statements. Then we'll connect ias1 to the conceptual framework, which you already know from earlier sessions. We'll see how those abstract ideas like faithful representation are reflected in the layout and structure of the financials. Next, we'll clarify the scope and objective of ias1, what it applies to and what it's trying to achieve. And finally, we'll sketch out the big picture, the stage where the rest of IFRS standards will perform. At its core, ias1 tells us what does financial statements need to include, how to organize them, and which principles must guide the presentation. But here's the catch. ias1 doesn't deal with measurement. It won't tell you how to value inventory or calculate fair value for a financial instrument. That's the job of other standards like IAS2 or IFRS 9. Instead, IAS1 is the architect. It defines the blueprint, the scaffolding that holds everything together. It ensures the numbers from all those other standards are actually presented in a way that users can understand, analyze, and compare. Let's connect this to the conceptual framework. Remember, the purpose of financial reporting is to provide how useful information to users, like investors, creditors, and analysts. For that to happen, the information must be relevant and faithfully represented. These are the core qualitative characteristics you've already seen. IAS1 puts those characteristics into action. It says, if we want to make information truly useful, we need structure, consistency, and transparency. In other words, IAS1 translates the why nom of the conceptual framework into the ein how can of financial statement design. Now here's the real question, why does this matter? Let's be honest. Presentation might sound boring at first, but think of it like this. Accounting is a language, and if everyone uses their own grammar, it becomes chaos. A consistent, well-structured format helps users navigate the financials with confidence. It builds trust, because what you see is clear, comparable, and based on established principles. And just like in a good novel or movie, occurs structure shapes meaning. That's why IAS1 is essential. It turns raw data into financial storytelling. So, who has to apply IAS1? It applies to all general purpose financial statements, who prepared under IFRS. That includes both consolidated and individual financial statements. If you're reporting under IFRS, IAS1 sets the rules for how your statements should look. However, interim financial reports, like quarterly updates, are covered separately under IAS 34, not IAS1. The key takeaway, if you're preparing a full set of annual financial statements under IFRS, IAS1 is your guide.